All right. So today we're looking at the names one. Last time we looked at numbers, and I showed you guys how that we can work with an unknown amount of numbers. Maybe there's 5 numbers or 20 numbers, and how all our buttons would change. Then I gave you a strings program. So now we're working with names, people's names, and our first button was to ask the user for names until he says stop, until he says the word stop. So let's quickly go into this. So initially, I didn't create our variables yet. So that's our step one. So I want to create a variable that can store names, and I think I said there can be a maximum of 20 names, yes. At most 20 names, but I want to store names in our array. So who wants to guide me through this? How can I create that array? And while somebody's preparing himself to answer, if you do it by private, if you do it by public, or if you do it inside var, it doesn't actually matter. Any of the three is fine. There is a difference between them, and that will get on later on when we start with OOP. It's mostly actually grade 12, but depending on how it goes, we might start in grade 11 with it. Private just means it's only for this class, only this program can use it. If it's in public, we're going to create other units or other classes, and then they can also use it if it's in public. So that's sort of the difference between them two. A var is same as private. It's a class variable, so it only exists inside this unit. So yes, okay, who wants to help me? I want to create an array to keep names. I want to call it R names. I see most of the people used R names here. So it's an array of names, and then for strings. Okay, tell me, how do I create it? What do I type? Anyone. Maybe Winner, while you're unmuted, can you guide us? R names, yeah. Oh, must I type it? Say again, what must I type? Array name, R names, then colon, array. Alright, so control space is a good option. Don't you see? Alright, I'm going to stick with 0 for now. So from 0 to, alright, in our case 19 because we started 0. And then of type, string. Yes. So remember, as I explained last time, you could have gone, I see, most of the EHS guys, you would have gone 0 to 20. 1 to 20, I mean. Which is fine. Um, I like doing the 0 part. As I explained last time, most coding languages actually goes from 0. And then you can't change where it starts. So I like doing the 0 1 then. When you guys move over to other languages, you'll see the changeover is much easier. Alright, so this will create the array names, position 0 to 19, so there's 20 positions in there. But now remember, this program will have an unknown amount of elements. So what do I also need? To just keep track of how many elements I've got. Yeah, quantity variable. So what did you guys call? I see a lot of you called it Q actually, I see. Alright, so let's go with the Q1. Remember, this variable you can call whatever you want to. So I'm going to go with Q is of type integer. So these are the two variables that we want to create globally. So we create it on top, so we can use it in all our buttons. One to have 20 string names put into them, and then one to just keep track of how many we've got. Last time we called it N, today we're calling it Q, tomorrow we might call it count. It doesn't matter. It's just a variable. You must just remember what you call it. Generally, I wouldn't call it an I or a J. because our for loops use that, and then you might get confused between which variable is which. So a queue is good, a n is good, or a count is good, something that you don't like always use. All right, now we've got that. So now we go to our enter button first. All right, so the enter button I've got did this. So we created a variable I, then we did for loop from 0 to 19, we set array names and we input the name and we displayed the names. So this would work fine, except it's going to ask me for 20 names. And if I didn't want 20 names, it's still going to ask me. So I'm going to type in my first 5 names, then I'm going to say stop, and then it will just carry on asking the whole time. So what do you think I need to swap here? What do I need to change here? Any ideas? What is wrong? Okay, let's see what else we have here. The wonder already told us something. Nikhil, can you help us a bit? What do you say? Okay, let's say it's a 1 to 20. Okay, imagine it was a 1 to 20. Right, how would you check? Yeah, okay. But remember, yours then also would ask for 20 names. Now, let's say we didn't want 20 names. Remember, what this question actually wants is it wants us to type in names until the user says stop. So we don't want 20 names, we just want until the user says stop. So, what do you think? What can we change? Do we need a loop? Let's start that part. Do you think we'll need a loop? Or, yes. Why do we need one? Yes. So our first question, do we need a loop? And you ask yourself, am I gonna just type in one name or do I need to type in multiple names? And you agree we need to type in multiple names. It could be 5 or 10 or 2 or 3. It could be one, but it could be multiple. And because of that, we must have a loop. Your next question would be for yourself, do I know how many names I want to type in? Now, if you want to type in names until the word is stop, we don't know because one person might type in 3 names and then stop, other person 5 and then stop. So the amount of names, we're not sure how many will be typed in. And for that, our for loop is called an unconditional loop. So unconditionally, it's going to happen 20 times, which is wrong in this case. We want to use a conditional loop so that we can enter stuff until a certain condition is met. So we can either use the repeat loop or the while loop. Both is correct. But yes, let's go with the repeat. When I said repeat, so let's go with repeat. So we want to repeat typing in names, and then a repeat works with an, let's see if I can click enter here. Yeah, with an until. So now you ask yourself, when do I want to stop entering names? Yes. So, and do you agree? Our names that we're going to type in, we're going to put into our names. Okay, that we'll fix the I just now. Okay, but so it's when our R names at a certain position is equal to stop. So once our name is stop, then we want to stop. So we want to repeat this until the name becomes stop. Now, okay, we'll go over now. Um, so You can do that as well. But remember, well, that's also fine. It doesn't actually matter. It's just you creating an extra variable. And you first put it in that variable, and then afterwards you put it into the array. Yes, okay. And so you went to our next piece in that because we don't have a for loop anymore, the I doesn't work. So we want to use also Q because remember Q was our variable that we chose up here. We said Q is going to keep track of how many names we've got. So we want to use Q for this. That means in our button, enter button. When we start, do you agree Q should start at where? Where's our first name going into? Sorry, second? In 0. So we need to start Q at 0 because our first name would go into position 0. Then we can ask for the first name. Then we can display the name, and then we can check if it's stop, then it will stop this loop. So this could theoretically maybe work a bit, but let's see what it does. No, what went wrong here? What else do we need here to make it just a little bit closer to the truth? So Q is 0. Our first name we put into rnames Q. Then we display rnames Q, and then we check if it's stop or not. And then if it's not stop, we're going to put it again into rnames Q, and that will continue, continue, continue. So what do we need? Yes. Do you agree every time we add 1 to our array, we need to make our Q one more. So we can ask for the name, display the name, but now our problem comes, now we want to stop it. So that means we need to actually increment our Q beforehand. So increment Q, which is the same as our Q is equal to Q plus 1. So now Q is 0, then Q is going to become 1, and then we do all this, which is not ideal, do you agree? We actually wanted what happened to 0 now? Nothing. So what we can do is we can take one of these inputs and put it before the time. And then I'm going to take my display and also just put it before. Let's quickly see what happened now. So now my Q is 0. Then array names at 0 is going to get the first name, which is fine. Then I'm going to display the first name, which is good. Then I increment Q. Then I ask for rnames 1, and the next name goes in there. Then I check if that name is stop. If it's not stop, I'm going to go back. Then I'm going to display it. Then I go to the next position, and then I ask for the next name. And then I check if it's stop or not. So doing this will allow us, it will actually work nicely, I think. Let's quickly see. So now we can type in our names here. So we can have Joe, and then we can have Pete and Gus. And once we say stop, it stops. Oh, yeah. Thank you. I knew I'm going to forget it. It's better if I just go the other one. Then when I go to like Discord and stuff to see who's there, then I don't interrupt everybody. And then everybody's names and everything doesn't get recorded all the time. So just for that reason. Alright, so to show you again, so our name If it's Joe, Joe will go. Then I can go with Pete and Koos. And once I say stop, it will stop. And you won't see the word stop either. So this is a good enter button. We could make it a little bit better. I see some of you did do it, and I'll show you now what some people did. So just to run through this again, when the enter button is clicked, we just want to start our Q variable at 0, saying, listen, we're at the start of our array, let's start in the first one. Then array names at position 0 gets a name. Then we start our loop. So that first one is not in the loop. So we do it before the loop. Then we display that first one. Then we increment Q to go to the second position. Then the name in the second position gets the next name. And then we check if that name is stop or not. If it's not stop, the repeat will carry on. Display it, go to the third one, get the third one. Yes, okay, so our variables again. I called mine our names, and I made it from position 0 to 19 because we wanted 20 of them. And then can I just ask for winner? I think it's maybe, do you have dogs? Please just mute for us. We can hear them in the background. Thanks. So yes, these are the array or the variables we created on top. As I said, it can be private or public, doesn't matter. Our names is an array from 0 to 19 to have 20 spaces of type string, and then Q is an integer. Just again, if you used 1 to 20, that's fine. Remember, it's just the positions. Mine, I just start counting at 0, while if you went from 1 to 20, you just started counting at 1. So technically it's exactly the same. There's no difference in it. The only difference is, like, this one would be exactly the same. You'll just start your queue at 1 because your first one will be in position 1. So you will start queue at 1, and then your code will look exactly the same. And then the improvement some people did, they used uppercase and lowercase. So because I already did my stop small letters, that could make mine better is if I go lowercase of my R names Q. So what this will do is when I check, it just makes it small letters as well. So to show you, if we didn't have this and we ran our program, we entered, and it was Joe and Koos and Pete, and then the guy said stop with a capital letter S, then uses stop as a name, and then he'll go stop all caps and it still doesn't stop, and the S cap T O, and it doesn't stop with any of them. Only when I go stop all small letters, then it actually stops. Only when it looks exactly like that. So if you go and you just add the lower case option here, now it makes it lowercase. So now if I say internet until stop, and I went Joe and Pete and Koos, and then I went stop all caps, it would still stop. So this will just allow you that stop, doesn't matter how you type in stop, but then it will stop for you. Depends how you wanted it. Obviously the difference, if you went uppercase, then that should have just been all stops. Then you would have gone like that route, all caps. But I want small. All right, any questions on the enter button that any of you've got? Enter button or creating of the variables. You can please ask me anything, and if you've got yours open and you like hear something, add comments. Remember, add comments to explain to you why you did something. For me, the main thing that you guys need to understand is the reason why you're doing each set of code. Because I'm showing you this way now, but it won't always. Okay, I must say the enter button sort of 99% of the time will look like this. But I mean, you need to understand why we do things so that if the question differs, then you can adjust accordingly. Um, that's sort of the nice thing about IT, or that makes IT a little bit more difficult, in that you must just be able to think. I give you pieces of code and explain what they each do, and you must apply them to the correct or in the correct manner. All right, everybody, good. All right, sounds like it. Okay, then I'm going to jump to our sort names alphabetically. All right, again, this is somebody's that I just captured. So they went, created the variables, which I'm happy with. We look at our structure for a sort. It is for if, so the structure is right. We look at our first for loop though. We start I at 0, which is perfect, but then we go to 19. So this is assuming I will have 19 names. So what should this rather be? Yes, because remember now, we're not stuck with 19. Q tells us how many we've got. Where is this thing? Uh, Q tells us how many we've got. Yes. 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 This, let's just see. So mine is 0. I put it in position 0, display 0. Then I go to 1, get the first name, and then if it's stop, I go out. So mine will actually be 1. Mine should also be minus 1. Same, Q minus 1. But you'll start at 1 and then do your minus 1 still. So, yes. So both should have the minus 1. The only difference, or what you guys, if you remember the minus 1, fantastic. If you don't, this still works fine. Um, Technically, you're just sort of wasting the um, computer's processing time, that it goes on a little bit longer than it should. But so minus 1 saves CPU time, so it's more efficient. But if you forget the minus 1, or you're not sure, what I don't want is some people forget and then they put, oh, it must be something, and they put a plus 1 there. Okay, that breaks it. So we can't do that. So if you're not sure, rather just go from 0 to Q. That works 100%. But minus 1, yes, talk to me. Yeah, yeah. Hmm. Can I ask you, is your internet good enough? Can you stream for us? Can I have a look at yours? Okay, so I'll join you now. While you're doing that, we'll just carry on here. So, second for loop, J, which is right. Again, this I plus 1 is 100% right. But if it confuses you, you can just go I, then you can just go Q here, and this will work fine. But obviously for efficiency, if you can put minus 1 there and a plus 1 here, you're saving the CPU's times. All right, let's quickly have a look what's happening here. Yes, I do. Is everybody watching with us? Oh no, no, I only see I see only your folder. Yeah, No problem. So I do want to ask also all of you while we're waiting for this. Um, you can really, you're welcome to send me WhatsApp messages and stuff. Try to, however, I see somebody. Just see if I can remember who. Somebody sent me a message like at 12 o'clock at night. It's a little bit late. No, sorry, not even 12 at night. Quarter to 2 in the morning. So then I'm sleeping. But you're welcome to send me messages. Luckily, I do mute my phone, so it doesn't bother me. Also, over weekends and stuff, send me messages, and I will get back to you as soon as I'm awake and I do have time. Sometimes, also, if I do blue tick you, please don't take offense. Sometimes I'm busy and I read it, and then I'm just busy with something else, but then I will get back to you. All right, yes, we can see your program. Show us, Nikhil. Oh, you don't need to run it. You can show us the code. We can't see you running in any case, so no problem. Okay, so you made Q0. Just quickly show me your declarations on top. Um, okay, so you went from 1 to 20 though. All right, so yours is different. All right, so go down. So your Q, you must start at 1. Yes, so you want to start your Q at your first one. Because you went starting at 1, your Q should be a 1. Yes, but you did something different. So, yeah. Yeah, no, so, but in your case, you need to have a 1. Because you look at your second line, you immediately then go, say, R names Q, gets the input. So yours, you need to put into the position 1. Otherwise, your 1 is gone. Yeah, I must just see what else this, because if you put a 0 there now, it's not going to work. I'm not sure how your code was. I'm going to try to help you fix this one. Oh, for loop. No, you don't want 4. No, 4 is wrong. Because in this case, you want to stop at the number. So, okay, let's fix yours. So, because you went 1 to 20, your Q should start at 1, because there you ask for your first name. So your R names at position 1 will get the first name, which is correct. Then you go into your repeat and you display the first name, which is correct. Then you increment Q, going to the second position, which is right. Then this R names Q equals sad. So remove the sad and just immediately put that input box in there. So backspace 4 times now, 5 times, and now delete 6 times. Press delete. Okay, yeah, that piece, take it up 1. Just next, so move your input just 1 line up, and then take that out. Alright, then inside your until, just change your sad to R names Q. Yes. Not necessary. You could have still done it without. Yes, you could have still done that. If you do that, it's fine. Generally, I don't like this one. If you create the extra variable, each variable you create takes up RAM space. So again, it's efficiency that gets lost. So your program uses more RAM than it's supposed to. So that will just, yeah. Run that, Nikhil, and just check if it works. Sorry, yes, but1, talk to me. Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know. I'm not sure what he said now, but when in grade 12, what they actually do is, especially tests and exams, They don't, if you don't think about CPU time and RAM, like with in this case, you'll still get full marks. That should not be an issue. They penalize you in your project. When you do a pet and it's not efficient, then you'll lose marks. So the viewpoint they take is, thanks Nikhil, is it working? Okay, 100%. So you can just disconnect them, or not disconnect, but just, yeah. So yes, how it works, exams, because it's under pressure and under time constraint, they're not too strict on not good programming style or CPU and that. But in your pet, because it's not time pressured, then they look for it there. So if you do create the extra variable, that's fine. You'll still get 100%. And even with this, like those of you that's back with me again with our sorting, if you leave out that and if you leave out this, you'll still get 100%. So this efficiency is just good to know about, and it's good to think about, especially those of you going into like coding and stuff. Try to remember that we're working with small programs, and you guys will say, "Oh, but sir, if I put it or I don't put it, it runs equally fast," and it will because our program is so small. But if you start programming Microsoft Windows and stuff like that, and now you just use extra RAM and extra CPU time for, I want to say, unnecessarily, then the whole system becomes very slow and not efficient. All right, let's carry on with our sort. So our first for loop, we start at 0 and we stop just before 1. So again, as Pavan said, those of you working from 1 to 20, if you could, Nikhil, can I ask you to please mute for us? No problem, we can hear the background. Those of you working from 1 to 20, you'll just start at 1, but you will still have q minus 1. That's the same thing. Our J loop starts at I plus 1. Everybody's that. Doesn't matter what you used. And then instead of 19, what should this be? Yes, 100%. Because remember now, we don't know how many numbers there are. So we should just have q there. And again, this is the same. So the only place the people that works from 1 to 20, that will be a 1. The rest is the same. Then we compare the two names, the array at I compared to the array at j. We do our swap. Um, I think all of you are okay with the swap. If you need me to explain the swap again, just tell me. But for the swap, remember we create the temp. So we put array names I into temp. Then I is empty. Oh, this one is wrong. So because we put I into temp, what should also guide you? See, there's a I and there's a I. On the right hand side should not be the same ones. On the left hand side should not be the same ones. Yeah, temp into j, yeah. So array I goes into temp, then I is basically empty. So then I can put j into i's place, then j is empty, then j can get the value of temp. So there's our swap. And then here we've got a display. So we want to clear it first. So we clear our lines. Then our for loop goes from 0 to, yes, from 0 to q or from 1 to q, depending on what you guys did. And then you just display array names I. Alright, and that should be our sort. Yes, talk to me. So your that 0 will be a 1, and that 0 will be a 1. That's the only difference. So that's literally the only change you make, is just where you start. Everything else would be exactly the same. All right. So those of you going, but yeah, all right. No, we'll leave it like that. All right. So that is all of that. Any other questions on the sort? All right. I assume everybody's good. Then we go the other sort, reverse alphabetically. So I just copied that code. I'm going to paste it there. Please, in tests and exams, do the same. If I ask you two sorts, you must say thank you, copy paste, and then the only thing we change is our symbol. So the greater than just becomes a smaller than. And there's our reverse alphabetical. Nothing else changes. All right, everybody good? Yes. All right, I'll take silence also as a yes. But thank you for the yes. I need yeses. All right, then, and please ask as many questions as you want to. I do have my phone next to me as well. If you want to, just type it though. Don't send me a voice note, that's not gonna help. But if you want to type in messages or in Discord, I will try and keep this one also open. You can send me some messages here. They do pop up and then I'll try to follow them. Alright, our last button that you needed to do was changing a name. So again, I copied somebody's and I put it down here. Let's see what this person did. And then you guys tell me like what went wrong or what should we change, what will work, what will not work. Let's see. So created those variables. Firstly did S line and then asked which name do you want to change. Then went for loop from 0 to Q. Then had a if our line is equal to our array names at I. Then S change, we asked for the new name. Then we took S change and put it into our names I. Then we ended that. Then we cleared it. Then we did our for loop for K from 0 to Q. Then we displayed array names K and then we ended off everything. If I run this, will this work? What do you guys think? Why not? Hey, your gut feeling is wrong. Okay, yes, Pavan, tell me. You think it will? And I agree 100% with you. So this will work fine, actually. So we can, however, just do some improvements on it. So let's quickly go through this again. S line, to find out which one to change, is 100% correct. We need that. Step one would be find out which name do we want to change. Then we do our for loop to go from 0 to Q to go check, which is fine. So we need our I, we need our S line. If the S line is equal to the array names at that position, then we want to change it, which is correct. However, why do you want to ask for a name to put it into a variable just to take that number and put it into the array? So I wanted to suggest, couldn't we have just done that? Just get a new name and immediately put it into the array. Then it means we didn't need to create that variable at all. So now suddenly we're saving a variable, which is good. And then the next part, I just want to know how many times will I display all my names. Let's say I had 10 names. How many times will I display all 10 names? Who wants to take a guess? No, I disagree. Next one. Who wants to take a guess for us? I want to know how many times do you see this display? There, we clear it. for loop from 0 to Q, and I display the names. How many, what, sorry, say again, what will happen 10 times? All right, so the first name, let's say the first name was Jan. How many times will it display Jan? Theoretic, not what will you see, it's just how many times will it display Jan, the first name. All right, I want somebody else. All right, somebody else. So again, this will work fine. But again, for efficiency, look at where this is. This display is inside this for loop. So what it will actually do is we're going to ask which one to change, start at position 0, compare the first name, if is it the one we're looking for. If it's not, it's going to display all the names. It's going to clear it and display all 10 names. Then we go to the next name. Is it the one we want? No, it's not. It's going to clear it and display all 10 names. Then we go to the next one. Is that the one we want? Yes. Gets a new name. It's going to clear it and display all the names. Then for the other 7 names after that, it's going to look, is it the name we want? No, it's not. Clear it, display all 7 names. And that will just carry on for how many times? If we had 10 names, it would do this 10 times. So just efficiency would have been good if we did this just after the for loop. Yeah, yeah. So the person whose program I used wouldn't have even realized because it clears every time. So it will clear display, clear display, clear display until the last time and then clear display, and then you'll just see the last bit, which will be right at that stage because it made the change and you would have never realized. But technically you actually displayed everything the amount of times that there was. If there was 10 names, it would have displayed all 10 of them 10 times. So again, as I said, at the end, what you'll see will be the right stuff, but just a little bit of efficiency again. Try, remember that if you put it in the for loop, it would happen that amount of times. What I like doing sometimes, what I like doing sometimes is, especially with like a sort, sometimes. I like when I create the ends, or if you start building a program and you start having a lot of begin and ends, put comment just next to the end so that you know which one it is, so that you know this is the if end, this end was for my for loop but1, and this one was for the for loop I. Then you sort of know where you are in all of that. And it could have happened with this one, it could have also assisted where we knew, okay, this is the end for the if statement, and then this is the end for the for loop I. And I think because of this, that's why the person went K, because he realized when he tried to put I here inside the I for loop, it would have given him an error because you can't have 2 for loops with the same variable inside each other. And that's why I think he went with K. Sorry, say again? Oh, okay, and then that's why you had to make it a K, just to make it work. Yeah, and then it worked, and then you didn't worry because, I mean, it's working. So, yeah. So, yeah. Um, the way you did it, if you gave it to me in an exam, I would have still given you 100%. So that the changes we made wouldn't have cost you marks. It's just good to know, maybe for so that you know what's happening in your program. All right, I think that's how far I want to go. Um, so I want these next 4. So we said you guys wanted class on Mondays and Thursdays. Yes. All right. So that means we'll have class tomorrow night. Do you think, try to have these four done for me by tomorrow night, please? I will still be, it's 4 o'clock now, so there should be maybe a changeover of people coming in and going out. I'll still be online until 30:30. I'll be here. Any questions you've got? If you booked yourself out for IT for this half an hour, please do them now maybe. And then you can just ask me, hey, so what's the, and I can help you with all of this. So